Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my, daily, weekly, whatever show, Tao of the Day. Tao of the Day is a show about the Tao Te Ching and about how we can live a more reasonable life. Living a reasonable life, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as it is concerned here in Tao of the Day, is how do we live a life where we are less affected by what others do in our existence. When we get out in the world, I was dealing with some things this morning with like just trying to understand or trying to embody more of myself and more of my fear of being in trouble and other things like that, trying to really understand that, like, I am here present in an experience and that this isn't going anywhere. My life isn't linear. It's not going anywhere. There's just this experience that's happening right now. And so, I had a dream last night that I was going to be in trouble, and because of something that I inadvertently I did, something happened. But, when I woke up, I realized that that thing happening isn't necessarily it doesn't have anything to do with me. It's just something that happened. Me trying to really understand the depths of all that's going on. Well, that's not possible. It's not possible for me to understand everything. And so what I do is I put these stories on things, this understanding of linear time, this understanding of this experience versus that experience, and how do I respond and react to these things. And when I can get into a place where I am more accepting of the fact that this just is, this doesn't have anything, this isn't going anywhere, this isn't, nothing is unfolding, everything just is, well, then I'm more in a state of acceptance, I'm more in a state of surrender. I don't have to be in control of what happens next. Yesterday, I have a check engine light on my new truck and stuff, and like, new, it's a 2007, it's mine, it's new to me. um and I know that it has to do with like the evaporative system on my truck and all this stuff. Um, and it's really a an important thing to me to be safe and secure and all this, and I just have to really let it go and just allow myself to be present and not say, oh, I want my truck to be like this. I do want to get it fixed, but I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to stress about it. I don't have to The dream I had last night doesn't have to affect me, and I don't have to worry about being in trouble. That's a big thing it's carried with me throughout my life, this fear of being in trouble. And I don't want to be in trouble, right? But if something happens, and my fear is I'm going to get in trouble for this. It's like, I didn't do these things on purpose. I mean, I remember being a kid and wanting to keep all my school stuff away from my mom, because every time I showed her my stuff, like, it wasn't good enough and I'd get in trouble. Well, now, and that's the experience, right? Like, when we're children, we have experiences that set up our our life in front of us, right? So, like, those experiences set me up to have this experience now of having to deal with not wanting to get in trouble, and not and attaching my actions to other people's responses, because they have nothing to do with one another. And so here I am, presenting Tao, and the Tao Te Ching is all about living a reasonable life. And living a reasonable life means not attaching your feelings to the feelings of to the actions of those around us, and the actions of those in our periphery. So whatever they do, how of course there are boundaries and things that we need to set, but we can't control what others do. Because we can't control what others do, we have to allow ourselves the freedom to not care about what other people do. And that's a really big part of the Tao. It's not really not caring, but not caring in the most loving way. And so what I ask is, if you guys want, you come up, pick a number between 1 and 81, and I would be happy to share a little Tao with you. I came across 49 this morning, so I'm going to read 49. Illusion of separateness. The master has freed herself from separateness. She opens herself to receive from all beings. When she encounters sincerity, she responds in kind. In the face of duplicity, her sincerity remains. When she encounters goodness, she responds in kind. In the face of evil, her goodness remains. Why should she change for the manifestation? She knows the manifestation is an illusion of separateness. Beyond that, there is only one. So this is beautiful as to what I was speaking of earlier, right? Like, there is no separation. There is no um, time. Time doesn't exist. And here I am, right? I had a dream that gave me a lot of stress over being in trouble. I've been struggling or looking at my fear of being in trouble. And here it says, right? Freed yourself from separateness. She opens herself up to receive from all beings, even receiving trouble. There's nothing wrong with receiving trouble. You're not in trouble. This is your life, right? You just call it that, right? You can call it anything you want. But when I associate it with trouble and what trouble means to me, all of a sudden I start to encounter these things, and I don't remain in the center, right? I get fooled by manifestation. I am changed by manifestation. If my car breaks down, I am changed by the manifesting of that. If I manifest a breakdown, well, this is an opportunity to experience. How can I now approach this opportunity without thinking about it and just do what needs to be done? Call my insurance or call the tow truck or whatever, and get it dealt with one way or another. When you encounter goodness, she responds in kind. In the face of evil, her goodness remains. The master has freed herself from separateness. She opens herself to receive from all beings. That's where this starts. And I want to be able to receive, even if I'm going to receive being in trouble. And this is my number today, 49. And I'm looking at this fear of being in trouble. The master has freed herself from separateness. She opens herself up to receive from all beings. And you don't have to capitulate to the manifestation. You don't have to follow along with what you're being told to do or be. You have the freedom to be as you are. And if that means that you get caught in manifestation and you decide that, you're going to let your emotions run rampant, right? Well, go ahead. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. You've done that thus far. So continue. But you may find yourself in a place where you want to do something different. You may find yourself in a place where you want to allow yourself to not be swayed by manifestation. There was a time that I switched timelines. I don't know if I've talked to you guys here on Wisdom about switching timelines, but when you switch timelines, something happens, right? So you have billions of different timelines going on. This is the multiverse, right? And there are times when you are growing and healing, and you actually shift into a new timeline. And when that happens, different things happen, right? Like when you're on the same timeline, you remember lots of things. You remember, like, you have a good memory. You have everything's kind of in flux. There's not a whole lot of deja vu, other things like that. But when you shift timelines, when you have healed to the point that you are experiencing a new timeline, and one time I experienced a new timeline, and I had keys in my pocket of pants I hadn't changed in like a week. I was traveling and I only brought one pair of pants, And on my way home from those travels, I realized that I had a pair of keys in my pocket that I had no idea what they went to. I had no idea where I had acquired those keys. I made up a lot of stories of where they could have come, and then I realized, this is just a new timeline. This is a timeline where I have these keys in my pocket. I'll figure out where they go, and it'll be fine. And later that day, I figured that they were a pair of keys to my house that I had no idea existed. Well, there they are. New timeline. I didn't have to worry about how I got here, express what they were. I know that I had been through airport security twice before that, before I realized that I had those in my pocket. I had lived with them in my pocket for a week or whatever, right? Like they just arrived there. So it's a new timeline. We don't have to be stuck in a singular timeline. We don't have to be stuck in a place of understanding everything. We free ourselves of separateness, right? We are one. We are connected. We can receive from all beings, all things, all moments in time. When she encounters sincerity, she responds in kind. In the face of duplicity, her sincerity remains. Sincerity is really important. It's an important aspect to how we engage in our lives, and how we interact with others. Sometimes people want to manipulate us, but when they do, we can say cheers and not get caught up in the manifestation. That happens everywhere, especially if you're in the United States with marketing and other things like that. Like they are trying, like there's so many different like markets and different industries and different people that are trying to manipulate you into believing something. The old model of entrepreneurialism is like find a problem and solve it. Well, there are no problems. It's actually create a problem and then create a solution to that problem and tell everybody that they have that problem, right? Like nobody had the problem. Well, before things like Alexa existed, nobody had the problem of wanting to just talk to nobody in your house and have them write you a list. People just wrote lists and nobody had a problem with that. Well, then somebody was just like, I want this to be easier. and when they did, they presented that to the world, and then they said, hey, look, we can make it easier for you to make lists, we can make it easier for you to listen to your music, we can make it easier for you to do all this. Why don't you get an Alexa? Why do they do that? Well, they do that so they can have a microphone in your home, and then they can figure out what it is you are having problems with. That way they can tell you that you're having more problems, and that you don't have to suffer with those problems because the solution exists, right? Now, you can be sincere when somebody wants to present that to you, and you can say, "Oh, well, like as this goes way back to cable TV, right? Cable TV was, we're going to give you all of these entertainment options, and in exchange for that, you're going to tell us what you watch." Right? You're going to tell us how you watch it, how often you watch it, and then we are going to be able to market to you even more directly. And that was the exchange, right? That was, and all of those like all of those agreements that you make that you never read, right? Like the terms of service and stuff, like all of that. We just skim over that and say yes because we want this product. But and that's in the face of duplicity, you still can be sincere. You can say, oh, we can be sincere in this. People are like, I mean, it's been over 20 years since I've had a TV in my house. Like, that's not to say I'm not on the internet, I'm not signed in everywhere. I have definitely given away all of my information, but that that idea of having a TV, having cable, having all of this stuff come in and being able to just be, that was always something that I was a little, like, I'm sincere. I don't want that here. And so through that sincerity, I can be sincere, and I don't have to damn them for doing what they do. That's fine. They can do what they do, but I sincerely don't want to be engaged with it. She encounters goodness, her she respond when she encounters goodness, she responds in kind. In the face of evil, her goodness remains. And that's another thing. Like, when we think about evil, when we think about bad things, I always talk about the fact that, like, we look at people as evil, right? Whether they're child molesters or if they are, you know, mass murderers or like gunmen or other things like that. We look at them not as ourself. We don't see ourself in them because we would never do that. But in order to really be good, in order to really love one another, we have to love the worst parts. And I talk to my clients, and I talk to individuals all the time about this idea that, like, you have to realize what you're capable of. And even if you want to think that you are not capable of doing something in your mind, your body is capable of doing it. Your body is capable of murdering. Your body is capable of molesting. Your body is capable of all of these things. And you use your mind to overcome anything, and it's not even being persuaded, but I mean, it's capable, right? We have to recognize what we're capable of. We're capable. It is capable for us to jump off of a building. Yes, like, our bodies can do that. Now, can our minds and our bodies, like, drive us to do that? Well, that's a different story, but there is the capability of doing it. And so when we look at people that have done things that we express as evil, can we get to a place of still being good to them, still seeing that they have humanity within them? Or do we just chalk it up to, and that's what politics wants you to do, right? They want you to chalk up, these are bad people, these are good people, these are bad things, these are good things, these are, and that's really unfortunate, because when we get into a place of having a divide, having a good and having a bad, or having a right and a wrong and all this, all of a sudden, like, you can manipulate people into believing anything, because you just say, well, they're evil. They're evil. Like, none of us have experienced true evil, like, because it doesn't exist. None of us has experienced true goodness either, because it doesn't exist. We've just experienced people, and they are connected to us, and we are connected to all things, and so it continues. In this last section, why should she change for the manifestation? She knows the manifestation is an illusion of separateness. Beyond that, there is only one. Why should you be affected by what's going on around you? That doesn't mean you don't respond or act or do what needs to be done at this moment. But why should you change who you are because something's happening? That's like me. Okay, I do something, and if I'm going to get in trouble for that, or if I think I'm going to get in trouble for that, I get nervous and I get worried, and I start to uncontrollably think about, like, how I'm going to get in trouble, or how this is putting me in trouble, or how, and I just get fearful, and I get scared, and I start thinking like a little kid, and I start, like, seizing up and all of these things. But really, why should I change for that manifestation? This is happening for a reason. Let's see it unfold. It's okay. No matter what, I'm still me. And I'm still connected to everything. It is the illusion of separateness that makes me change. It's the illusion that I am separate from you. It is the illusion that I am separate from the action that I've taken. I am separate. Like, this is all one system. And while this system is going, I don't know anything about it. I don't know the inner workings of all of this. So just let it all be. Let it all happen. That's 49, the illusion of separateness. If you have a number between 1 and 81 you'd like to select and walk through with me, I would love to have you up. Always such a pleasure to chat with you guys about the Tao. And Johnny's going to be coming up. Johnny, it's always nice to see you, man. How are you today?
Good. I'm good, Martin John. Good. Good morning, Martin John. I'm sorry. I sometimes stammer, so I apologise that
No, no, no need to apologize at all.
it's fascinating hearing you talk about jumping timelines. I've
Oh yeah.
I knew of the concept, but I've never actually heard of anybody who said it's actually happened to them. So that was
Oh yeah.
really
So
enlightening.
so it's interesting. Have you ever been in a conversation with somebody that like told you about like something that you've done in your life that you really should have remembered, but you have no idea about it until you really start thinking hard?
Now you say that, I'm sure I have.
So that's jumping timeline. So during the timeline you're currently in, there was a thing that has taken place that you, the consciousness that is currently in this timeline, was not in this timeline for that. And so, although you have access to all of the memories in all of your timelines, you like because you shifted timelines at some point, you can't recall as easily as you can recall things that happened to this experience.
Wow.
So that I mean, we shift timelines quite a bit. I think, especially the people I have been, privy to engage with, just because we're healing, and I think right now people are shifting timelines quite a bit because as we enter the age of Aquarius and all of this stuff, like we're moving, we're maturing our spirit brain, we're doing all of these things that I talk about, like as those things kind of take place, we are having more experiences than of like we are growing into who we are in a greater way, and as that happens, like it's almost it's almost not even mentioned. It happens so fast that like you can't even keep up. Um, and and I think people are more open to it because consciousness has opened them up, and I think people are just opening to consciousness in a way more now. So they're allowing these shifts, these jumping to happen.
That's really interesting. I know in the shamanic tradition they talk about the beauty way, and but you can take different paths.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm kind of thinking those different paths could be different timelines.
They all are right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was interesting because I've had some sort of, I don't know if deja vu is the right sort of thing, but I've had thoughts or feelings about things that I like feel I was I was going to be doing or should have been doing, but for whatever reason, and they're really really strong, but for
Yeah.
but I it's not available to me in this timeline,
Right.
and it's really strange. And now you say that um I do have a number of 47, but
Okay.
I'll just preface it, um, because I know recently you've been sort of asking people, um, or people have been coming forward, and they'll kind of give you a little bit of context for the number.
Mm-hmm.
So I had an operation 18 months ago, which should have been a standard operation, but sadly it went wrong. And it's kind of been a situation I've not really accepted since, because it kind of all spiraled in a very bizarre and weird sort of way. And but it's been life changing, but it's not in the way I'd hoped. So I'm trying to accept it at the moment and trying to understand the learning that I'm meant to be getting from it. But it also has just made me realize that I jumped a timeline then. I have no
Yep.
doubt. I have no doubt now that I jumped a timeline then.
Yeah.
And so,
And there's reasons for that, just like I was talking earlier about this idea that like, when I was talking about the illusion of separateness, right? When you are unable to accept a thing, like me and getting in trouble or whatever, the fear and all of this stuff that kind of comes up with stuff. Um, that is because we are not realizing that it's all one big thing and it's okay. You know, we're stuck in this idea that like I'm different, I'm separate, I should have an experience that's different than this,
Yes.
right? And so when we look at number 47, it's entitled Engaging with Manifestation. Let me just
Okay.
start by like that is exactly what like your operation is like the manifestation of what happened. Like you said, like it all went wrong. And I'm like, no, it didn't. Like it
Yeah.
went. It did a thing, right? It was supposed to, just like, oh, is it supposed to rain? Like, well, if it does, then it's supposed to, right? Like, so as
I
we kind of get in, go on.
I think before I've heard you talk about being in alignment with Tao or not in alignment with Tao, and prior to going into that operation, I wasn't in alignment with Tao.
Right. Yeah.
So
And then you get kicked in the ass, right? Like, oh,
absolutely,
awesome.
yes.
So let's see what this says. You can understand all things touched by Tao without leaving your room. You can see all things touched by Tao without opening your eyes. The more you trust the manifestation, the less you trust yourself. Thus, the master never engages manifestation without first having engaged herself. In so doing, she achieves everything without ever having considered it.
Wow. Okay. Um,
What are some of your thoughts?
uh, Trust was the thing that jumped out at me was that you need to trust yourself before you start considering the manifestation.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get um, your understanding or how you view how you view the word manifestation. What's your definition of manifestation? If that's not too
Yeah,
difficult.
no, it is just the physical world.
Okay.
Anything that physically takes place, anything that you observe, anything that, like with your eyes, anything you can touch, that's manifestation. Like, even if it's an action, that is of the real world, like of the physical world, that's the manifestation, right? So, like, what is, like, first off, the manifestation was the reason that you needed the operation. Then the manifestation was what the doctors said, and then the manifestation was the operation, and then the manifestation was the um, the results of the operation, and then, like, what is not manifestation is what had remained the same no matter what was going on in all of those scenarios. And that is deeper than, like, right, like, you might realize that you need an operation and that makes you nervous. Well, there is still a part of you that's not nervous, that is just who you are, connected to all things. Now, you might not be in touch with that, but that exists.
Yes.
And then you realize that it's a successful, it's a fairly common operation. You feel better because you've learned something in the manifestation. You trusted the manifestation, and so you learned that this is a standard procedure, no big deal. I feel better. But there's still beneath that feeling better, that thing that hasn't changed, the thing that was still there when you learned that you needed the operation. But you weren't in touch with that because the manifestation has much more, you're just more engaged with manifestation.
Yes.
And then the operation went wrong, and now, oh, fuck. But there's still, underneath that, oh, fuck, something that's still you, something that's still Tao, something that's in touch with everything. This is the more you trust the manifestation, the less you trust yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what screamed at me. And that, my essence is still there. And
Hmm.
that's and but I didn't. Now it's very clear to me that it's interesting. You talk about you have a. I don't know if you use the word fear, but you don't like getting in trouble, and you
Right.
do. You
Hmm.
have like an aversion for the
Yeah.
idea of getting in trouble, and that, as you say, that's just an experience.
Hmm.
And I guess on some on I had some fears associated with this, but it was much more ironically due to the influence of others. So I went based on the recommendations and pressures and things of other people, as opposed to as as in those two lines. I didn't step back and trust myself,
Right.
because if I had done, there was only one way I would have gone, and it wasn't the way I went.
Right.
It wasn't the option I chose. And yeah, it's it's yeah, and
And I was going to say that that's not, you didn't do something wrong. You were in a position where you were unable to trust yourself. Now you're in a position where you get to trust yourself more. Like, this was the lesson. That's all. This was just what you got to experience. Now, and that happens to all of us as we are in the, you know, as we are less, as we surrender, if we do not surrender completely to Tao, if we do not allow ourselves to surrender to Tao, then we will, have experiences that, although still attached to Tao, we don't understand. We don't
I was going.
understand. What's that?
Sorry, I was going to use the phrase "we get our asses kicked."
Well, yeah, we don't because we are stuck to the ego, because we are stuck
Yeah,
to the, this is what I wanted to happen, damn it. And it's like, well, this is what happened. And, being, that doesn't mean if you had surrendered to Tao, this wouldn't have happened. That doesn't mean that at all. It means you would be more accepting of it having happened.
yeah.
And maybe it wouldn't have happened, but we can't say that. And so, like, this is where, and how often do we really trust the manifestation? Like, it's so obvious. Like, I'm looking at a wall. That wall exists. I cannot walk through it. All of that is already in my mind before I attempt to walk through it.
But
Right.
some
And
say you could walk through it.
yeah. But there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to. I mean,
Yeah,
scientifically, that we as far as we understand, and with Tao penetrates all things, right? So
yeah.
it doesn't need to be a doorway. Thus, the master never engages manifestation without first having engaged herself. This doesn't mean the master doesn't engage manifestation. We do engage manifestation, but before we do that, as masters, right, as the master engages manifestation, there's first an engagement with herself. And that's something that we often forget to do because we
I,
don't have trust in ourselves.
yeah, and I think that's where I've been leaning towards in more recent times, is listening with the heart and executing with the mind.
Yeah.
So that your heart is, well, for me, I'm working on the premise that your heart is your north star. It's the compass that points you in the right direction.
Yeah.
And once you're pointed in the right direction, you can then engage your mind to actually take the steps. But I hadn't I I hadn't done that step that the master says, in that I hadn't trusted
Right.
before I actually tried to engage in, before I got involved in the manifestation.
Right. And right now in the world, that's hard to do because there's so much manifestation everywhere we go.
Yeah,
And it's all reminding us that it's right. And we
yeah,
live under its influence to such a strong degree. You got a couple seconds left, but we got two lines left. So please come back up, and then we will, and then I'll get to Dr. Rao. I'm sure Dr. Rao will have a lot of really wonderful things to contribute to this conversation. If he is so choosing, if he is, he may just be coming by to say hello, because I always love to do that. I tried to do that yesterday with him as well. So these last two lines is in so doing, meaning um, her first engaging herself before engaging manifestation. In so doing, she achieves everything without ever having considered it. So that just means she's not considering achieving anything. And yet everything that she does is achieved.
Well, yeah. Well, it's beautiful, isn't it? It's kind of in a state of flow. It's in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's in that when you're truly connected to Tao, or when you're truly connected to yourself, to your heart, your actions just your actions and subsequent manifestations just come from the right place.
Yeah, and and it should be said that once first, like when you're connected, and you're always connected. That's the
True.
thing. It's like I read 49, which is an illusion of separateness, because there's an illusion of separateness. So there is no need to be connected. You're always connected, and all of your actions are coming from that connection. But sometimes you need to be steered in a direction that you might deem bad,
Yeah.
wrong, right? Like that's on you. That's not like that's just your shit. Like that's and those are things, those are lessons, or what, however we want to look at them. Those are places where we need to surrender more.
Yeah.
And just because we're open, that doesn't mean that we're going to avoid bad operations. Doesn't mean we're going to avoid broken toes or avoid getting in trouble. Doesn't mean that those things aren't going to happen. It just means we have surrendered to them before they even happen. And so we can achieve overcoming them, healing from them, allowing them that much more.
Yeah. That's still a work in progress for me.
Well, for everybody, it's not, it's,
Yeah.
like I struggle with the same thing, like, because the manifestation is strong.
Yeah.
We look, every morning we open our eyes and remind ourselves of who we were. And one of the great things that I have been able to, kind of add to my practice is open my eyes and introduce who I am today to to myself, because I am a different person now. And when we can really recognize that, we can really recognize that every day I'm a different person, well, then I'm more open to surrendering more, rather than closing off and reminding myself of who I am. Well, this person, yesterday I drank coffee, so I better drink coffee today. Yesterday I played this app, I better play this app. Yesterday I did this. Yes, of course I do Tao of the day, 5 days a week, all of this kind of stuff. But it is, it is still up for debate. Like I still could say, no, I don't want to do it today.
Yeah, it's a lovely practice because every day you remind yourself of the choice that you have. That
Yeah,
the choice that each and every moment you have a choice. It's
yeah.
always your choice if you decide. Um, if you decide to ignore the dramas of the manifestations or the outside world. So yeah,
And it's not even ignoring, because ignoring is taking an action. It's just like surrendering to it.
surrender.
Yeah, surrender to it, and allow it to be. That's why when I talk in the beginning of my Tao of the Day kind of talks, I was talking about living a more reasonable life. That just means, for me, what it means is, well, if you stop asking others to be a certain way, if you stop asking things to be a certain way for you because you think it's better, well, then that's not reasonable. What's reasonable is to stop asking. I don't know how I express that, but you stop asking others, situations, people, things, whatever, to be anything other than they are. And if that means they are running around like a chicken with their head cut off, well, that's fine. Like you're okay with that. You know, you're okay in principle with that, and like you're not looking to change. You know, one of the quotes that I have is, um, "Do you think you can help other people? You're wrong. There are no other people."
Yes.
You know, and that's a big deal to understand that it's you, man.
Yeah. Everything's our little world. It's our, yeah. It's our,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, thank you very much, Mark John. I'm also interested to hear what Dr. Ram
Yeah, we're gonna
is.
bring him up right
So,
now.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
that's great.
Let's see if
Thanks very
he has.
much, Mark John.
Yeah, I will. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming up and sharing, Dr. Rao. Oh, he stepped out. He either stepped out or got cut off. So either way, I'll be on for a couple minutes and see if he comes back up. If not, thank you so much, Johnny, for joining me. I'm going to read your 47. Oh, there's somebody. Is that? Yes, that's Dr. Sometimes there's little glitches, so it's good to just be a little patient, and allow people to come back up. How are you, Dr. Rao?
I, I am good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm feeling good, and I was talking with Johnny all about manifestation. I'm sure you
Yeah,
have some thoughts.
that's the one I wanted to talk about
Yeah.
manifestation. I think we talk in terms of Tao, in terms of Brahman and all that, right? We both rave about it and all of that.
Yeah.
But the but the thing is, why many people are not understanding it? Leave alone having it seen that it is everything. It is a life. It is everything.
Yes.
Because they think we are asking them to leave their mind and body and everything as they know it as themselves, and then they're scared about it. And
Yeah.
this confusion happens um, uh, all the life, and then finally, when you really understand that you are the Tao, nothing else, then
Right.
that's a major, major relief. You know,
Yes.
Otherwise, you are kind of dangling between this and that. You say, for example, you said manifestation is the physical world. You know, that
Yeah,
doesn't
that's what I said.
stop. That doesn't stop there. The
No.
physical, yeah, because the physical world is also the body and the mind,
Right.
and but at the same time, that means only the Tao, only the Brahman. Everything is Brahman, everything is Tao. See,
Yep.
that's a major, major step away from that. Okay, considering like you say, I am aligning to Brahman or Tao, that's not it. You are
Right.
Brahman, and then your mind is kind of thinking aligning thing, but the mind is also material as for the real energy of Tao, real energy of Brahman is concerned. This is
Yeah.
a major, major thing, just like a uh, generational, civilizational issue, because the materialists, the spiritualists, they fight on this, right? So the materialistic will say, I got to feel it, see it, to really believe it is so. And I don't see any God or any Brahman, any Tao, right?
Right.
And what is that you are employing to see? Your
Mm.
thoughts, your mind. And that's also object to the awareness or the Brahman or the Tao that you are.
Yes.
See, when you say, uh, be yourself, immediately they think that's their personality, that's their ego, that's their thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But what you are meaning is, be the Tao.
Yes. Yes.
Right? I know that what you mean, but how many people take that time because they have um, uh, no uh, uh, no knowing of the Brahman. Don't
Right.
want to say idea concept or anything like that, because they become, but there's
Yeah.
no knowing. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't have the.
Yeah, there are practices, Martin, for to
Yep.
realize that we are the Brahman or we are this one. What it is the same thing. Both the Chinese and Indian, anybody else, Christian contemplates also the same thing. That's why I kind of poo-poo the idea of any particular faith and all that, because they are all one.
Yeah. I agree. I
That-
agree.
yeah, I think,
Absolutely.
I mean, we only use the terms to just understand how the way certain region thought about it. That's all. But otherwise, I kind of freed from that concept of one nation, other nation, and all that, right? Even the others or no others also, people cannot really, their mind doesn't understand. They may feel it, you see, but the
Yeah.
mind is so dominant and they will be stuck in that.
Yeah.
So what it is consciousness, or that spontaneous self-luminous, whatever it is that we all have within, that is a reflection there is a reflection of that on the mind, and mind sees everything through that moonlight of reflection, not a real original self-luminous consciousness.
Yeah. I
So
love.
everything else, yeah, everything else is manifestation for that. So consciousness is the fundamental substratum, and bodies and minds, they all manifest out of it, but then they are also part of it because they are manifesting from it.
Right.
So you are coming from that wholeness or the fullness, or what they call the purna, or we can call it wholeness, and from that, that is the one which is responsible of everything else, including our
Yes.
bodies. And the problem with humanity is they think they are the mind generated smaller self,
Yes.
and that's also part of the Brahman. That's the thing. It's not
Yeah. Yeah.
separate. Like, the spiritual people, that they go, like there is somebody else, something else creating, and then that creation is your body and mind, and then there is a separate divinity and all that. No, the divinity is within you. That's why you have this body and mind.
Mm.
Life force, or just a conscious, or not even conscious, awareness. See, we are aware of our thoughts. Doesn't mean what? Thoughts are not by independent. We are aware of them. That light of awareness, that is the light of light. It doesn't fall on the mind. You don't see the mind.
Right.
When you are
That's a.
saying, yeah,
Go on.
be yours, you are asking them to be that light of light.
Yes.
That is
Yeah.
separate from your
It's
mind. Yeah, that's the thing. You see,
and that's in this 47. It's like the
yeah,
more you trust the manifestation, the more you trust your mind, the
yeah,
less you trust yourself. That
yes,
self is that deeper
yeah,
self, that big
yeah.
S self of consciousness, of doubt.
Explaining that what is that real self is the difficult thing, because you have to go through the mind to understand.
Right. And that's why we just leave it as like the more you
Yeah,
trust the manifestation,
yeah,
the
yeah,
less you trust yourself. You'll
yeah,
have to figure that out on your own in
yeah.
meditation or doing
And no,
whatever
no,
it is
you
you
just
do.
you just be aware. You don't have to
Yes, just
do
be
figure
aware.
out.
Oh
Figuring
yeah,
out
yeah,
is the mind. Yeah, mind
yeah.
has to be in the mode of awareness rather than thought. You see,
Right.
all these scholarship people, all the intellectuals, all the people who think only through the mind only, and they think not, they are thinking outward things, okay, but inward thing is not by thinking, by intuitive feeling.
Yeah.
You feel that, right? You feel the I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah.
You don't have to give it any coloring with that is the problem with the modern says. They don't shut it up and then turn with inwardly intuitively.
Right.
I was always telling you about that, because
Yeah.
people who don't have any idea about shutting it out, they come and you also embark in that.
Hmm. Right.
Not you are doing something wrong. I'm just telling you
No,
as
yeah,
a,
no, yeah,
yeah. What I'm saying is,
I embrace that warning all the time.
yeah, 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 because it is very easy to go to that frequency.
Yes.
So what it
Yeah.
is realize your divinity first. Realize, not discover. Realize. That means it's already there. So you just have to realize that, and then stay in that and deal with the other people coming from the mind only, because they need that understanding to open up the mind as a like you see, I have a mind very sharp actually,
Yes.
but
Yes.
I know I'm not the mind.
Yeah.
So I don't need this ego building, worship, or people who are complimenting. None of that.
Right.
Who? Why do I need it when I have this divinity inside, which is our abundance?
Yes. Yes.
That's it.
That is. That is.
That's
That
it.
is. Yep.
Yeah, manifestors carry so much in that, because the ancient believed the manifestation of the mind and the body, and then turned inward and realized what it is. And then this cannot be led by somebody. You got to do it yourself. Every individual has to do it. You can
Yep.
train very nicely. You can train the mind, but for you to realize, you got to do it by turning inward.
Hmm. And that's
And
just
that's
something that.
why,
Yeah.
that's why it is something individual people have to do, but not by propaganda. That's what
Right.
happened with all these religions and all. I was taken by one statement and say, it's so simple to realize and be that pristine state, that is the Brahman or the Tao.
Yeah.
But there are so many religions, so many philosophical thoughts, so many um, ways people go about it, and they get lost from that. Like you were saying, there are no others. Why people don't feel that there are others? They all feel individual. They feel like we're
Yeah.
attacking them. When you say we are all one, they say, okay, oh, what happens to my personality, my
Yeah.
thing, built it up. Do you want me to die to that? And they bolt from there.
Yeah.
Even the scholars who talk to me, they bolt because they invested so much into the scholarship.
Yes. That's
That's
right.
all mine. That's all mine, just a thought. And the practices are Drik Drishta Viveka. Read that book if you can get hold of that
What's the
material. I
book?
think it's Drik Drishta Viveka. That means Drik means uh, what you are seeing. Drishta means who is that is seeing. Viveka means discernment. This is a major philosophy from the Advaita thing, and they talk about, they take an object, and then they say, what is in the object? What is the seeing? You are seeing it. Who is seeing it? My eyes. And do the eyes perceive? No, they are aware, because there is a mind, there is an awareness there. So ultimately, they go through everything and then end up in that awareness, not of intellectual thought, not of something materialistic conclusion, but then you you see something through the eye, but you never see your eyes by yourself. You may see the reflection of it in the mirror, but not the eyes, right? So,
Yes.
but you are aware that you are seeing.
Right.
But without that awareness, you will not have that. So ultimately, he goes from one part to I to mind to awareness, like that. That philosophy is much more steps are there, but I just shortcutted it for our time's sake. But
Yeah.
basically, that is one method. Other method is panchakosha. That is 5 layers of the body, mind. And then that there is a physical body, kosha. Kosha means a layer. Okay. And then within the body, we have the energy layer. And within the body, we have a thought layer. Within the body, we have this understanding. by intellect. And then finally, within the body, we have the uh, seed, like genes and all that, right? And
Hmm.
then the five layers are surrounding the self, which is the Brahman or the Tao. But then
Mm.
the Brahman is itself is the Annamaya Kosha. Annamaya itself is the energy. Brahman is that is the mistake people do. They think these layers are separate from Brahman.
Right.
No, Brahman manifesting like this.
Hmm.
So the
That
manifestation
is,
itself, yeah, itself Brahman too. But then Brahman is the reality through everything goes through that. And
yes.
the
I
other
mean,
thing
there.
is Trivasta state. That means waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. And then Turiya. That means in the waking, in the dreaming, in the sleep, there is Turiya engulfing them all. And when you really fall asleep, deep sleep, you lose both body and mind. In sleep, only the body. In waking, you don't lose body and mind. See,
Hmm.
but after all these things is the Tao.
Yeah. 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 Oh, Dr. Rao, always such a pleasure to have you up to express all these things. I would really love if you to tell me about the Rigrista Viveka book. Just give it, yeah, because I want to find it because that seems really, um, really interesting. And I'm going to be going on a plane tomorrow, so I might be able to look at it tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. That one,
How do you spell that?
Martin, I will find that on Amazon and then
Okay,
give it to you
yeah.
on your
Yeah, just send
Instagram.
me a link. That'd be great.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I
I
was
think
looking
this
for
is
it.
more like a whatever you are doing will come to fruition just by not by reading that book, but understanding what they are talking about.
Yeah, yeah. You know, anytime you tell me about something, I always like I was-
Yeah.
yeah,
But there is a way to perceive this book. That's what I'm saying.
yes.
You will be able
Okay.
to do it very easily. I have
Yeah.
no doubt about that. But I'm just warning you how you
I'm
approach it. Don't approach it with a Western mind.
no,
Approach
no,
it
no, no, no. It's always it's yeah, it's
with the
always open.
ancient. There's another thing too. Amrutasya Putra. That means Amruta means nectar of immortality. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We are all have that nectar of immortality, which is our Tao or our Brahman
Yeah.
or our self. And all this talk, all these arguments, all this taking accounts of the mind level discussions are not really going to open anything for anybody. But the moment
Right.
maybe if one person will do, and then you opened it.
Mm-hmm.
That person
Mm.
opened it by himself, but only thing you did, throwing the light on that.
Yeah.
So,
And that's the
mm,
there are these dark corners in the lives
yeah,
of all of us that just
yeah,
and people do not know they're there.
yeah.
And when they do, they are invited to
See,
engage.
you
It's
dark
they
corners. You said dark corners. That's a very important statement, Martin. Because
hmm
how does the dark go? By light.
yeah,
The dark is created by what? The ignorance of your mind.
yes.
Now you go for the light. That means you left the darkness and lit up that.
Hmm.
And then everything is light.
Yeah, yeah. And
Only
for
light.
some,
Nothing else. Yeah, only light. But there's another way to express this too. We
yes.
always, which you also talked about. I'm just putting in words.
Yeah, please.
Uh,
Yeah.
but this is, I want to do this every day. I get up in the morning, I do the coffee like that. That's a physical thing. But like that, from the lower self of mind being my identity to the higher self, which is really us,
Yes.
that you are not going to reach it by anything, but by realizing it.
Hmm.
That realization, people don't do this because they get caught in the network of thought.
Right.
So do not
Manifestation,
thought,
whatever that is.
yeah,
The
not
thought
the thought,
and
yeah, intuitively feel that doubt. Then
Right.
out of that manifestation comes, that also becomes Tao.
Yes. It's all, yeah. Tao is like Tao isn't one thing or another. It is all things. It's like
Yeah.
just
Yesterday I was in
even
a room, they
even
were
your
talking about,
mind is Tao, but
yeah,
it
that
is
that's it. Mind is Tao, but the Tao is a manifestation of the, not manifestation. Mind is a manifestation of the Tao.
of the Tao. Right.
Yeah. See, this is a fundamental in ancient Advaita philosophy, that is non-dual philosophy, right? Where
Right.
there is only Brahman and everything else is Brahman too. But
Yes.
that get manifested, don't get cast in the manifest. That's why it's get Jagat Mithya. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but don't take it as the real,
Right.
because it is going to change, it's going to be not eternal, and it is not self-shining. It shines by the light of something else. Be
Mm.
that light. That is the thing.
Yes.
That means you don't have to strive for it. You already that. Realize that. But the moment mind wants to find it, you are lost.
Mm. And that's one of the first things minds want to do.
Yeah. That's it. It wants to preserve itself. That's why it will always do. But the moment it realizes, I am also part of that abundance, I am that abundance, it will be quiet. When it is quiet, then you are there as the Tao. So
Yes.
quiet the mind. That's my only concern. Whenever I talk to you, calm your mind. Calm your mind. That's all I'm telling you all the time.
And I always appreciate the
Yeah.
reminders, because I keep
Okay.
I keep I keep coming out, but
Yeah. No,
all
no,
right,
no.
thank you
You
so much.
want to go to the frequency of whoever you are trying to help
Yeah.
compassionately. That's the spirit, I know. But a lot of people establish themselves as the realized beings without really understanding what the heck it is.
Right.
I know there are some
It's
people here, they proclaim themselves as leaders, they proclaim themselves as deep thinkers, they proclaim themselves as, I'm trying to help other people and all. You don't help yourself, how can you help others?
that's right. And it's so much, it's
Yeah, we
driven.
don't have
It's
to help
driven by the
anybody.
mind.
We can
That's
only
right.
be
I'm
there.
not interested in helping nobody. Like,
Yeah, yeah. We cannot really help also. They have to see the light and then help themselves.
that's right.
But we
That's
can
right.
throw the light, that much we can do without becoming the mind.
Yes.
But
Yes.
express through the mind though.
Well, yeah. While I'm here, and then
Yeah.
back. Then we go back if we can.
Okay.
If we can.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, Mark.
Love you,
See
Dr.
you.
Rao. Have a wonderful week.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me for Tao of the Day once again, Johnny. Hopefully you got to hear Dr. Rao and I talk a little bit more about that 47 engaging with manifestation. It's always something, it's always something when you engage with manifestation. Once you get, because it can, like, I'm going to use the word rewarding, but like Dr. Rao says, it's like it's not the rewarding that you think. It's just going to feel that way. It's going to feel like, oh, I got what I wanted when you engage manifestation. But the master never engages manifestation without first having engaged herself. And just like we said earlier, herself and yourself isn't just the self of the mind. It is that deep understanding that is not manifestation, right? Like, just like when we walked through your journey to that operation, there was that consciousness that was the same throughout, and you were thrown about by manifestation. It's an important way of understanding things, and see right now if you can be in touch with that thing that's always the same. I a couple years ago, I did a large dose of psilocybin mushrooms, and the point for me was to get underneath to the consciousness that was not manifestation, and that was an exercise in being in touch with that which was not hallucinating. So here it is, my body and mind are hallucinating, but underneath that I am not. And can I get there? And it was a beautiful exercise for me. And It really helped me get to be able to understand where the depth of that was. And so that was an experience that I had, and that's about engaging manifestation. It was about like, here I am engaging manifestation through this experience. Can I still be me without that experience, without that manifestation, without that ego, without that identity? And that was something that just came up in my mind right now as I'm reading through this 47. Just kind of glancing at it again. Thus the master never engages manifestation without first having engaged herself. You can go out in the world and have these experiences, but please know who you are first, who you are deeply, who is that which doesn't change because manifestation does. All right. Thank you, everybody, so much. If you have a number between 1 and 81, I am going to be wrapping up. But if you are here and want to join, you still have a couple moments. If you benefit from the work that I do here, please consider giving me a tip through Venmo at @MartinJohn_Garcia, or you can head over to my profile where I have Linktree, and there is a possibility of sending me a tip through Linktree. Thank you so much once again. And I'm usually here Monday through Friday. Sometimes I'm not, but usually that's where I'm at. And if you follow me, you'll know when I start Tao of the Day. And you can come pick a number. We'll talk a little bit about the Tao. Thank you so much for joining me. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.